And now, Backstage Wife, the story of Mary Noble and what it means to be the wife of a famous star. After a shattering interview with Larry, who is awaiting trial in the New York City jail for the murder of Oliver Wilson, Mary is back in her hotel room near the theater district. And with her is her close friend, Maud Marlowe, who says,
"My dear child, you look positively ghastly. You'd better start taking care of yourself, or you'll collapse before Larry comes to trial."
The way he feels about me, it's the best thing that could happen, Maud.
Oh, nonsense. You know very well how important it is for you to stand by him through the ordeal of his trial.
Of course I know. All I want to do is help Larry. And he just turns against me. He makes a fool out of me in front of Claudia Vincent.
Now, what do you mean by that?
This afternoon I went to visit Larry at the jail. And she was there, done up in veils like Mata Hari. And she was simply horrible, insulted me to my face. And when I tried to tell her straight out what I knew, Larry turned on me in a fury and made me stop.
But, my dear Mary, you should have known better than to talk against Claudia to Larry. Especially right now when he believes she's going to be his most valuable witness at his trial.
Valuable witness? Claudia Vincent is trying to keep out of trouble by pretending to help Larry. And all the time she's the one who ought to be on trial.
You've said that before, Mary. And it's only natural for you to think so. But it's not good to go further than that with no evidence.
But I have evidence, Maud. I know now that it was Claudia who put that rope around Oliver Wilson's neck.
Now, just a minute, Mary. Try to be sensible. Have you any way of proving that?
Victor told me the whole story.
Victor? You mean to tell me you did go to meet that wretched creature after all?
I had to find out what he knew. Victor was backstage the night of the murder and said he had important information to give me. I had to go no matter what you said. And I'm glad I did.
Well, I suppose he told you something that will help.
I hope so. If only I can verify it.
Well, and just what is this important information?
He told me that he saw Claudia put that rope around Oliver Wilson's neck and pull him up into the wings by the counterweights. She came up to him while he had his back turned for a moment. Victor saw the whole thing.
Well, and he's kept silent all this time. I suppose now he'll take the stand and testify.
Oh, no, that's the awful part of it. I had to promise not to involve him.
If you find him useful, have him brought to court and make him testify.
But he wouldn't do it, Maud, don't you see? If I did that to him, he'd simply lie about the whole story. Larry would be worse off than ever.
Oh, then I don't see how any of this helps at all. In fact, I don't see how you have any reason to believe Victor's story.
But I do believe it. Because I know in my heart that Claudia killed Oliver. I know that she was enraged when she found out she'd thrown away her big chance in the theater to elope with a penniless fortune hunter like Oliver. Oh, if only I can find some way of proving it. And I mean to try, Maud. I'm not going to leave a single stone unturned if I can help it. Larry may never want to come back to me, even if he is acquitted. But I'm going to stand by him and fight for him, with every ounce of strength in my body.
And at the same time, Larry is talking to his lawyer, Hubert Savage, in the visiting room at the jail. And we hear...
Just 2 days till the opening of the trial, Mr. Noble. I hope you're still keeping up your nerve and that fighting spirit.
Don't you worry about that, Mr. Savage. I'm going to be all right. Just you keep an eye on Mary, will you? She's getting hysterical. I don't know what she's liable to do next.
What do you mean?
She's so dead set against Claudia Vincent that she can't seem to understand how valuable Claudia's testimony is going to be to my case. We met here yesterday, quite by accident. We had a fearful row. I don't want Claudia to get angry. She might change her mind about helping me.
Yes, she may. And right now, Miss Vincent is our most important witness, even though she is being difficult about telling me exactly what information she has to offer.
You're keeping a guard close by, aren't you, Mr. Savage?
Oh, yes. Miss Vincent is under 24-hour surveillance when she goes out and even when she's at Mr. Jordan's apartment, which he so kindly turned over to her.
That's good. Les Jordan's been a real friend through all this mess.
I have an idea Mr. Jordan doesn't object too much to Miss Vincent being more or less in his custody, Mr. Noble.
Really? You think Les is developing a romantic side? Well, what do you know?
Would you object to his showing an interest in Miss Vincent?
Me? Of course not. Why should I? Look here, Mr. Savage. Are you still uncertain about the extent of my feeling for Claudia Vincent before this murder happened? Do you still think that perhaps I might have been so crazy about her that I killed young Wilson in a flash of jealous rage?
Mr. Noble, you have never, in so many words, denied your infatuation for Miss Vincent.
No. And let me tell you, Mr. Savage, I don't deny it now. I don't deny or affirm it. But I did not kill Oliver Wilson. You understand? I didn't touch the man.
An early evening of this same day, Mary suddenly appears at the door of Lester Jordan's apartment. And after ringing the bell, she says to herself,
Maybe I'm a fool to do this. There's no more time to lose. I'm going to have a showdown. Hello, Lester. May I come in?
Mary Noble. Well, you're the last person I expected to see. Come in, of course. Come right in. Sit down.
I came to talk to Claudia Vincent. Is she here?
Oh, you bet. She's inside. I just dropped over from the Green Room Club. Been staying there since Claudia moved in. May I take your coat?
I'll just leave it here if that's all right.
Oh, sure thing. That is, you two won't...
It's quite all right, Lester. I'm sure Claudia knows why I'm here.
Oh, well, in that case... Oh, please come inside. Claudia, it's Mary Noble. She just dropped in.
Well, isn't that just lovely? What a real surprise. Are you checking over your husband's witnesses, dear, or what?
I thought it might help if we had a talk, Claudia.
Really? I doubt if much can be gained by it, judging by past performances.
Well, can't I get us all something to drink?
Not for me, thanks.
I still have mine, dear.
A cigarette, Mary?
No, thank you.
Well, all right.
You know, you look rather like Carrie Nation sitting there, Mary. I expect any minute to have you bring out a hatchet and start chopping the place to bits.
My purpose is considerably simpler than that, Claudia. I want to know just what it is you intend to say on the witness stand.
And what makes you think I'd tell you?
I think you'd better tell me.
Really? Why?
Because I have some interesting testimony of my own to give if you don't. And I doubt if you'll care much about it.
Now, just a minute.
Be still, Lester. Let's get to the bottom of this. I don't like these roundabout insinuations.
I'm not insinuating anything, Claudia. I'm telling you that you'd better live up to your promise to win Larry an acquittal. Or you may find yourself more deeply involved than you realize.
Don't you try to threaten me, Mary Noble. I know that when I finish testifying, no jury would find him guilty.
And I want to know what you mean by that. What is it you can say that will acquit Larry? Are you going to confess your own guilt?
Of murder? Hardly. Although I am forced to stir up ugly rumors. No, there's no other way.
Suppose you stop beating about the bush and tell me what you mean.
All right, Mary, you asked for it, and I'm going to tell you. I can prove that Larry couldn't have murdered Oliver Wilson.
How?
Because at the time that Oliver was killed, at the time that he was having a rope put around his throat and hauled up into the wings, Larry was with me. He was in my dressing room with the door locked, and the key was in his pocket.
Well, look here,
Let me finish, Lester. I repeat, Larry Noble was with me. All the time that you were looking for him, calling out to him, he was in my dressing room. He came there and locked the door. And then he told me that he wouldn't open it up until I promised to run off with him. He was crazy with jealousy because he found out that I'd eloped with Oliver. And he swore that he wouldn't let either of us out of that room until I'd agreed to leave with him. I tried to reason with him. It was no use. He took me in his arms and he held me there, repeating over and over that he couldn't live without me. It wasn't until after we heard your piercing scream that Larry opened the door. We both came out. That's when we knew someone had murdered Oliver. And that's how I can prove that it was not your husband.
Great guns, Claudia. That story's packed with dynamite.
I know. That's why I refused to tell anyone what I proposed to say on the stand. I knew that there would be fireworks.
Well, does Larry know what you're going to say?
Well, of course. He's the only one who does. And he's willing to have me testify no matter what happens.
Claudia, that's a lie. The whole thing is a monstrous lie. You weren't locked into your dressing room with Larry. You've made the whole thing up.
And why would I want to do that?
To protect yourself. Because you know very well that you're the one who killed Oliver. You're trying to save yourself by telling lies about Larry.
You don't want to face the truth, Mary, because it shows just how little you've meant to your precious husband. Because it proves to the whole world that he turned away from you and to me long before this happened. No, you don't want to face this humiliation. Not until you've safely landed Rupert Barlow. You'd rather have your husband pronounced guilty of murder than admit to the world that he was faithless to you. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you?
Mary is white with anger as Claudia Vincent hurls ugly words at her. But she knows it's useless to protest unless she can unearth some vital scrap of evidence within the next 24 hours. We'll be sure to be listening tomorrow to Backstage Wife, The story of Mary Noble and her husband Larry Noble, famous Broadway